in the QBO gym, and this is where we have numerous hands-on exercises that simulate real-life scenarios that you may encounter as a bookkeeper. Each month covers a variety of new topics and scenarios, and to make it a little bit easier for you, we break it down into 4 different sections. So if you are looking to work on your bookkeeping skills, this is the place for you. And if you want to do an entire month's worth of these all on your own, be sure to join our free 5-day bookkeeping challenge. All you need to do is click on the link in the description. But let's go ahead and get into today's exercise, which is being pulled from our November Year 1 warm-ups section. At the top here is an animated video to give you a synopsis of what is going on in Craig's world this month. He is our fictitious business owner. Further down is an interactive pre-assessment quiz that relates to that video up above. Below that are all of the exercises in this section. And at the bottom here is an optional area where after you have gone through all of the exercises in this section and completed them, you will unlock some sample marketing posts that you can use on your LinkedIn to share with everyone what you have learned so far. So let's dive into today's exercise where we are going to practice processing bank feeds. Go ahead and click on that link to have the exercise come up for you. I have it here on the right side of my screen, so let's read through the scenario. After you have input all the sales and expense transactions, it's time to process bank feeds. This means comparing what went into and out of the bank and making sure there was a correct record of it in QBO. You will need to be in the same session of the sample company that you did the previous exercises in. If you have not completed those yet, go ahead and click on the link on the top right corner of your screen. That'll take you to the first one, complete that one, and all the ones after it until you get back to this one. They all build on each other, so it's important to start with that first one. I have the sample company here on the left side of my screen. This is the last page that I left off of from the previous exercise. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, Craig mentioned that he would like to start using his MasterCard more so that he can manage his cash better. You may want to put this account first instead of the checking when you are working on the banking screen in his QBO account. So let's go take care of that now. We need to get back to the home screen or the dashboard. So to do that, we're going to, from the left navigation bar, hover over dashboards and then select home. So here is that left navigation bar. Here is dashboards, hover over that, select home. And here we are back on the home page. Now in the bank accounts tile on the bottom right corner, we want to click on the 3 dots. So if I scroll down a little bit, you can see this bank accounts tile right here. These 3 little dots on the bottom right corner, go ahead and click on that. And then we want to click on Customize Widget. Now from here, we can reorder this however we want. Remember, Craig wants the MasterCard listed first. So we want to click on these 6 dots right here, hold your cursor down and move it so that it goes to the top of the list. You can release your mouse and when you do, it will stay up there. So now that it is at the top of the list, we can go ahead and save this by clicking on the green Save button on the bottom right corner. And now you can see that the MasterCard is being listed first. So now that that is done, we're going to process the new transactions in the MasterCard account. So let's go ahead and click on the MasterCard tile right here. And once you do, you will go directly to the banking center. Now you may get some navigational pop-ups here. These are just informational pop-ups, from QBO, just telling you what this area is about. Go ahead and just click out of them. Now, once that's done, you're going to go ahead and take a look at the bank transaction that QBO thinks it has found a match for or a matching transaction for. In a real life scenario, you would want to double check to make sure that what QBO thinks is a match is actually matched correctly into a QBO transaction. Since you are the one that entered the transactions in the first place, though, you can usually do this fairly easily with a quick glance. For this exercise, we're just going to assume that the matches are in fact correct. So next to each transaction of the 3 transactions that have one match found, we're going to click on the checkbox. So if I scroll down here, here are all the transactions that are part of the MasterCard, which if I scroll back up here, you can see that we are on that one because it says right here, but this tile is also blue. So if I scroll back down here, we can see that there are some that have no potential match. This one has 2 matches found and this has 1. The ones that have 1 match found, go ahead and click on a checkbox next to each one of those. So it's 3 total. And then we want to go ahead and click on the accept button. So go ahead and do that. Make sure you have all 3. Go ahead and click on accept. And now those have been accepted. Now the Squeaky Clean Car Wash has 2 transactions for the exact same amount. You can infer that they were 2 car washes on different days. There's different days that are listed here. So to the right of the first Squeaky Clean Car Wash transaction, we're going to click on View, which is right here. Go ahead and do that. And once you do, it will expand. Now we want to confirm that the selected transaction here is the one that is with the date that matches on the bank feed. So I can see this says 10/22, up here says 10/22. Keep in mind that your dates may be different than what you see on my screen, as the sample company is always changing their dates. So just double check that whatever date is here is matching the one here. It is currently selected, so I can go ahead and click on the green match button. And as soon as I do that, QBO automatically found the match for the other Squeaky Clean Car Wash transaction once we handled that first one. So we can go ahead and click on match for that as well. So go ahead and do that. And there we go. Now we only have 2 transactions remaining. Craig told you that Amazon sent the wrong software and he returned it. That return credit is showing in the bank feeds. You can just add it from here. Note that in a real life scenario, Amazon would be set up as a vendor already during the initial purchase. In a sample company, however, you'll have to add that in as well. So let's go ahead and click on the Amazon transaction. Do not click add, just click anywhere else on that particular line so that it does open up and expand here. Now in the vendor customer field, we're going to click into it and then click on plus add new. The contact type is showing as customer, and that's because it's money coming in. It's that refund. And so QBO is automatically assuming that they are a customer, but they are indeed a vendor. And once again, when you made this initial purchase, recorded the initial purchase here in QBO, this would already be set up, but we have to do this because it was not previously set up. We don't have that initial purchase. So let's go ahead in that contact type field, change this to vendor. And then in the vendor display name field, we want to go ahead and type Amazon. So go ahead and type that. Now, if you happen to have any other information, you could add it here. We don't for the purpose of this exercise, so we're just going to click on the green Save button on the bottom right corner. So go ahead and do that. In the account field, we want to select office expenses. So go ahead and click into that down arrow. You can scroll up a little bit until you find office expenses. Click on that. And then in the memo field, let's just make a note about what this was for. So we want to type refund for wrong software item. I'm actually going to just highlight over this wording and copy it and then paste it here in the memo. Feel free to do the exact same thing. Now, once you have done all of that, go ahead and click on, oh, it looks like the category disappeared here. If yours happens to do that, make sure that it select it again to make sure that it's in there. And then go ahead and click on add. All right, so that one has been added. So finally, we have Lara's lamination, which must be one of these expenses that Craig lost the receipt for. When you ask, he says it was for some yard signs that he had purchased. So we're just going to go ahead and click on add. But actually, a little too soon. By clicking add, you did not have a chance to change the category from uncategorized expense to advertising. You also did not have a chance to assign the payee, but that's okay. You can easily undo this mistake. So go ahead and click on categorized here, this tab. And once you do, you will see that it is showing here as the second one listed. Go ahead and click on undo. And once you do, it will be removed from this categorized list and go back to the For Review tab. So go ahead and click on that. And now we will see that it's back here and we can go ahead and make the adjustments. So click anywhere on this line. Don't click add. Go ahead and just click on the line to expand it. Now, note that the bank detail for this transaction says Lara's Lamination Business Card right here. Business card here does not refer to what Craig actually purchased. It is how the transaction came through at the bank. This is likely how Lara initially registered her business. Perhaps at the time she only sold business cards, or perhaps she registered something like Lara's Lamination Business Cards and Sundries. So it just got caught off. But it is not uncommon for the bank detail to not be an exact match with the vendor. So that's okay. We're going to just go ahead and copy over it from the bank detail. So go ahead and highlight over that. Go ahead and copy it in the vendor customer field. Go ahead and paste it and then click this plus add new to add her as a new vendor. We don't have any other information for the purpose of this exercise, but of course, if you did in real life, be sure to add it at this time. Go ahead and click on the green Save button, and now that's been set up. In the account field, we want to change this to advertising. So click the down arrow, scroll back all the way to the top here, and advertising is the first one on the list. Select that, and then in the memo field, we're going to go ahead and type yard signs. So go ahead and do that. Everything is looking good. So now I can go ahead and just click on add. So that is the green button on the bottom right corner. And there we go. It says that this is all set with this account. So we have finished processing the bank feed for the MasterCard. So now that that is done, let's go ahead and move on to the checking account. So we want to click on the checking tile. So if I scroll back up here, we have the checking tile right here. MasterCard was listed first because we made that adjustment, and now we have the checking. And if I hit this arrow over here, here is the savings. We want the checking, so go ahead and click on it, and it will turn blue, indicating that we were on the checking bank feed. So we're going to start again by first looking at what bank transaction QBO thinks it has found a matching transaction for. This time, we're going to use a filter to narrow down the list because there are quite a few more on this list. So to do that, we're going to click on all transactions right here and then go ahead and select suggested matches. Next, we want to deal with the transactions with more than one match. There are 3 of these on this list: Pam's Sites, Books by Bessie, and Squeaky Clean Car Wash. So we're going to start with the one for Pam Sites. In the action column of her line, we're going to go ahead and click on View so that we can have it expanded here. And now here is all the information for this transaction. Now, keep in mind that when attempting to match, QBO only searches by amount. When you look at the options here, you can see that the bank detail description right here matches the expense recorded for Pam Sites right there. So QBO is not looking at they're not looking at the dates, they're not looking at the vendor or customer, they are only looking at the dollar amount. So this expense should already be selected, which is the matching one. So go ahead and click on the green match button. And you will notice that as soon as you match the Pam Sites transaction, you also took care of the Books by Bessie transaction right down here. Now QBO recognizes that there is only one match for Books by Bessie, so that is why it is taken care of. Now let's go ahead and tackle the Squeaky Clean transaction in the same manner that we just handled the Pam Sites one. So on the Squeaky Clean Car Wash row in the action column, we're going to click on View. So that is actually right above that Books by Bessie. Go ahead and click on View. And you'll notice that there are 2 transactions, but the different types and transaction dates. You can see that here, same vendor, same amount, different dates, different types of transactions. We want to select the one that matches the same date on the bank feed. So it should already be selected. Whatever the date is here should match the one that is already selected. So once you have confirmed that, go ahead and click on the green match button. Now, note that if this was a real life situation, you would want to investigate the other transaction later. So now that you only have single matches left on the list, you can accept the matches in batch. We're going to click on the checkbox on the top of the column to select all of the transactions. So scroll back up to the top, this checkbox that's next to date, go ahead and click that. And you will see now that it has selected all of them. We have only one match found for each of these transactions. We want to go ahead and click on the accept button. Go ahead and do that. And there we go. We have no more transactions that match the search, which is that suggested matches. So when all the match transactions are accepted, you are notified that there are no more transactions to match the search. So we need to remove the suggested matches filter to see any unmatched transactions. So let's go ahead and click on the X next to suggested matches. Go ahead and do that. And now you can see we only have 5 transactions that remain to be handled. Now, the Books by Bessie transaction is a pre-authorization. Sometimes banks, quote, test the connection before actually transferring the money. In the sample company, you can make this assumption because the transaction is in the future. In a real-life scenario, the bank detail often includes the term pre-auth. You can exclude it now, and when it comes time, what comes across for real, you'll be able to match it. If you process both transactions, you're just going to run the risk of having a duplicate. So let's go ahead and click on the checkbox next to Books by Bessie. Go ahead and do that, and then click on Exclude. And now that one has gone away. And if you ever wanted to look and see where that one was, you could just click on this Excluded tab, and the transaction will be there. So next, let's go ahead and take a look at the transactions that say a rental right here. After speaking with Craig, you learn that he rented some equipment for jobs he did for Paulson Medical Supplies and Video Games by Dan, and they'll need to be billed for it. The first day was split evenly between 2, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that one first. We want to click on the oldest A rental transaction. Don't click add, just click anywhere on this line, the oldest one. Then we want to click on split down here. So go ahead and do that. In the paid to field, we want to select Ellis Equipment Rental. Now note that although the bank transaction just says a rental, you would know from past experience that this refers to Ellis. As mentioned previously with Lara's lamination, sometimes the bank detail is not an exact match to the vendor. So in this field right here, we're going to click on the down arrow, scroll until you get to Ellis Equipment Rental, and go ahead and click on their name. In the category field for both rows, we want to select equipment rental. Now make sure that you select the one that is the sub account of job expenses. So go ahead and click on the down arrow and then scroll up a bit and you will see job expenses up here, and then equipment rental is a sub account of that. Go ahead and click on that and do the same thing in this one as well. In the description field for both rows, we're going to type half-day rental. So go ahead and click into that and go ahead and type that. Half-day rental. If I can spell it correctly. There we go. In the customer field, on the first row, we want to select Paulson Medical Supplies, and the second row is Video Games by Dan. So click on that down arrow. You can either scroll or you can start typing in their name. Once you find Paulson, go ahead and click on it. And then down here in this second row, we want to do it for Video Games by Dan, which is almost at the very bottom here. Now remember, they are both going to be billed for this, so go ahead and click on the checkbox under billable for both of them. The amount is going to be $400 for each because we are going to be splitting this evenly. So go ahead and click into it, type 400 for both lines. And then you will see if you click out of it that there is no difference, which means that everything is good, and we can go ahead and click on apply and accept. So go ahead and do that. And now that one has been taken care of. Now, the second day, Craig rented the equipment for another half day for Paulson Medical Supplies and a full day for Video Games by Dan. Again, they need to be billed for that. So let's go ahead and split this one. We're going to click anywhere on that row, that one for $1,200. So click anywhere to expand it and then go ahead and click on split so that we can do the same thing that we just did before. So it already says here, we're going to complete the split transaction in the same manner that we did before, but changing some of this information down here. So we want to keep this as paid to Ellis Equipment Rental. That is the right one. We want to go back into this category and change this to equipment rental, which is the sub account of job expenses. So go ahead and do that for both lines there. In the description field on the top line, we're going to do half-day rental, just like we did in the last transaction. For this one on the second line, this is going to say instead full-day rental. So go ahead and click in there and go ahead and type that. Oops. The customer at the top is Paulson Medical Supplies. So click into that down arrow, go ahead and click on their name once you find it. The customer down here is going to be Video Games by Dan once again. So click on that. We need to click on the checkbox next to or under billable for both of them. And then in the amount field for Paulson, it was $400 because it's that half day rental. And then the full day rental with Video Games by Dan is for $800. So if I click out of this, you will see now that the difference is showing as 0, which means that we have properly split and captured all of the information for this transaction. So now we can just go ahead and click on apply and accept. So go ahead and do that. That's the green button on the bottom right corner. All right, now we have just 2 transactions left. Now it turned out that Craig only needed the equipment for Video Games by Dan for a couple extra hours the second day, so A Rental agreed to refund $200. Since this is going to be added to Dan's invoice, you need to be sure to record it in a way that will remove it. So do this by using a deposit transaction. So to do that, we're going to click on the plus new button and then select bank deposit. So the plus new button is on the top left corner. Go ahead and click on that. And then under other, select bank deposit. We want to click on the checkbox next to track returns for customers. So if I scroll down here under this add funds to this deposit section, if you click on this checkbox right here, this is what we are looking for. So in this grid right here under received from, we want to select Ellis Equipment Rental. So click into it. You can either scroll or start typing their name. Either way is fine. You will notice here that it's not showing up here at the top because all the customers are listed first. You have to keep on scrolling down until you get to the vendors, and then you will see Ellis Equipment Rental. So go ahead and click on that. In the account field, we want to select equipment rental again. Note that this should be the same category that we used for the previous, it's the same category used previously for the expenses. So remember, it's that it's a sub account of job expenses or job materials. So scroll down. I may have already missed it. I think it may be easier if I just go ahead and type equipment. And you will notice here that there is an equipment rental that says expense. This is not the one that we want. We want the one that is the sub account of job expenses. So go ahead and click on it once you find it. In the description field, we're going to type early return credit. So go ahead and click into it and go ahead and type that. The payment method field, we want to select ACH. Now note that since the money appears to have gone directly into Craig's checking account, it is likely an ACH payment. So click on the down arrow, click on ACH, and then we want to put in the amount field $200 since that's how much was returned. We want to click on the billable checkbox, and then in the customer field, we're going to select Video Games by Dan. So click that down arrow, scroll down to the bottom, and you will see they are almost there at the bottom, Video Games by Dan, select that. And now we can go ahead and click on Save and Close by clicking on the down arrow here and then Save and Close. And that deposit has been saved. And here we are back in the banking center. Now notice that the bank transaction is now matching the deposit that we just entered. Notice too that the payee is Video Games by Dan, not Ellis Equipment Rental. That's because this is who the money is going back to. So let's go ahead and click on Match. And now that one is done, and we have one final transaction here for Hicks Hardware. Now, this is another one of those receipts that Craig had lost. He tells you that he purchased 8 sprinkler pipes and a hammer. Sprinkler pipes are an inventory product, so you won't be able to add this expense directly from the bank feeds. You'll have to create the expense and then match it. You'll need to remember that the amount is $24.38, and you'll also need to remember the date that is on the bank fee transaction. So for me, I could see that it's 9/22. Yours may be different depending on when you are doing this exercise. The sample company is always changing their dates, and so just be sure to remember whatever date is here, you're going to need it in a moment. So write it down if you need to or memorize it, but we're going to need it in a moment. So we're going to click on the plus new button and then click on expense to create that expense. The plus new button on the top left corner, click on that, and then under vendors, select expense. In the payee field, we want to select Hicks Hardware. So go ahead and click into that payee field, scroll down and click on Hicks Hardware. If you happen to get this pop up here, go ahead and click out of it. They're always making changes here to the sample company, so sometimes some new things are popping up, and that looks like one of them. So let's continue on here. You'll notice that QBO automatically pre-fills the category details grid with information from the previous transaction. You need to get rid of this and start with a fresh slate. So click on the trash can icon at the end of the first row, which is right here. So go ahead and click on that. And now it is showing a 0 because there is nothing left on here. Now start in the item details grid because you know Craig purchased 8 sprinkler pipes. The remainder must have been for the hammer. There was likely sales tax involved as well, but without the receipt, you don't know how much that was. Since it is such a small amount, include it in the cost of the hammer. So we're going to click on the down arrow, or the arrow, excuse me, to open up the item details grid right here. Go ahead and do that. In the product service field, we want to select sprinkler pipes. So click into it. You can either click on the down arrow to scroll. It is the, I don't know if you can see it, but it is this one, the last one on that list. Go ahead and click on it. In the quantity field, we want to type 8 since that's how much it was. So go ahead and click on that or type 8 in the quantity field, hit the tab key, and you will see now QBO is making the calculation for $20. Now, QBO assumes that the cost was the same as it always is. You'll have to assume that too since you don't have the receipt. Notice that QBO automatically calculated total so far to be $20. Since the total was $24.38, this means that the hammer must have been cost $4.38. So you'll need to add that in the next step. Now, if we go back up here to the top in the payment date field, we want to select the date that was on the bank feed for Hicks Hardware. So for me, I know that it was September 22nd. Your date may be different depending on when you are doing this exercise. So just keep that in mind. Go ahead and put that date in there right now. Now let's go ahead and add the hammer. So in the category details grid, in the category field, we want to select supplies. So click into that. You can click the down arrow and start scrolling until you find it, or you can start typing it in. Either way is perfectly fine. Once you find it, go ahead and click on it. In the description field, let's specify what this is for, which was the hammer. So go ahead and type hammer in that box. In the amount field, we want to type $4.38. So click into that. Go ahead and type $4.38, hit the tab key, and you will see that QBO has made the calculation, adding those two together. So let's go ahead and click on Save and Close. So click on that green Save and Close button. And as soon as you do, you will see that you get this error message. Now, this error message seems to, or tells you that it seems the date that you entered is earlier than the day Craig first started tracking this inventory product. Is he sure that this purchase was for sprinkler pipes? If so, you have a bit of a mess on your hands, so you'll have to clean up all his historical inventory records, at least for this product. Doing so is outside of the scope of this exercise, so we're just going to skip it for now. Let's go ahead and click on cancel. It's covered by my video screen, but it's on the bottom left corner of the screen. Click on cancel. You're going to get this pop-up right here. Just go ahead and click on yes. We want to leave or cancel without saving. So we have this one in here. We'll just have to investigate this transaction at another time. So let's move on to the savings account. Click on that arrow over here if you need to. You may just see the savings tile over on this side. Once you get it, go ahead and click on it. You will see it turns blue, which indicates that we are in the savings bank feed. Now there is only one deposit and it matches right here. So let's go ahead and click on match. And you will see it's all set. You could see the little check mark right here indicating that there are no transactions to review. And that's it. You have now processed the bank feeds. Now, if you like this exercise and you'd like to do more like it, be sure to join our free 5-day bookkeeping challenge. All you need to do is click on the link in the description. We're going to continue on, so if you want to join, be sure to leave this session of the sample company open, as you will need it for the next exercise where we practice invoicing with accumulated charges. And I will see you in the next video.